This is Tony Blazier for the Motocross Vault presented by Blinzall. If you're in the market for some high-quality racing oil for your two-stroke or four, make sure you go to blinzall.com and use our discount code VAULT20 to save 20% at checkout. Thank you for all the support. Hello, I'm Tony Blazier. Welcome back to the Motocross Vault. I thought with the return to Supercross racing this weekend in Salt Lake City, it'd be a good time to get back to our normal routine and maybe do one of my 5 questions. I am so excited to see racing come back. I had my real doubts about whether it was going to come back at all this year with all this crazy nonsense going on, but they're pulling it together. They're making it happen. So I'm super psyched to see that, and I certainly hope we have a great weekend of racing. So I have questions, 5 to be precise. So let's get to it.
Number 1.
My first question for Salt Lake City and the Supercross return is, will this all go off without a hitch? Again, I had a lot of questions about whether or not this is going to be even come together at all. I just really didn't know about the logistics of the whole thing. To Feld's credit, they figured out a way to have all these races in Salt Lake City. And, kudos to the governor for allowing that to happen, because you are letting many, perhaps hundreds of people come in, even though they're not going to have fans in the stands. You have all these people work for the teams. I don't even know what the total number is, but it's pretty significant to have all these people come into your state, possibly bringing God knows what from wherever they're coming from. Now, I know they're testing people. They're doing all the normal protocols. They're going to be wearing masks, like my motocross wall here. They're going to be wearing masks, and that's definitely going to help, I think. And it will be curious to see how this all happens. I think that, you're going to have separations with the mechanics, can't go to the line. There's definitely going to be some different things. It's going to be strange. Basically, it's going to be like watching practice. If you've ever watched the Supercross live broadcast during the day when they're riding around with no fans in the stands, it's always kind of a little surreal. One nice thing, this is going to be, I believe, that at least this one coming up is going to be on NBC, the major networks. That'll be good to get a little extra exposure. I'm really looking forward to the return, but I have really concerns about maybe not this first one. I think probably we will be okay going forward. Obviously, if somebody tests positive or something, or what happens if, heaven forbid, somebody has a fever, even though it's the cold or the flu, what happens then? I think everybody has to pull together. They'll have to have a good attitude. I would hate to see AC or, not AC, I'm sorry, Eli, one of these guys in the title fight, lose the title over just coming down with a fever, even though it's not COVID-19. Obviously, that's a concern, but, let's hope for the best. I'm certainly hoping we had a good race, and I hope it goes off without a hitch. And if we get all these races in without a problem, that'll be amazing. So, fingers crossed going forward.
Number 2.
Question number 2 is, this new Salt Lake round, is it going to be a complete reset? Are we looking at a race that's going to be more like A1 where you get a complete outlier finish? You have to wonder if this is going to be, after such a long layoff, essentially these guys are coming in cold. I wonder how many guys are going to be 100% up to speed right away. You also have to factor in the fact that they're going to get less time on the track. Take the mask off a little bit. You get a little less time on the track. I don't think they're going to be allowed to walk the track. It's always amazing to me how quickly these guys can figure out the track anyway. I know it takes me quite a while just to remember whether the jump in front of me is a double or triple or whatever, especially if it's a blind takeoff. These guys seem to be able to process that stuff really quick, but there's going to be a difference. Some guys are going to definitely pick up the track faster than others, and then you add in the fact that you had this layoff and the fact that the track is probably going to be a little different. It's going to be harder dirt, I think. It's very hot. I think it's in the 90s there today and tomorrow. So it's going to be a very different environment, maybe more like an Anaheim type situation in general for that. The hard soil, very similar to Anaheim, the long layoff. I think all of that will contribute to the fact that we could have just a crazy finish. I'm really curious to see if we're going to have, did we go back in there and you have Ken and Eli at the front again, or do you have maybe a Jason Anderson, although maybe he might be, I'm concerned about apparently he has issues with altitude sickness, so that's a whole nother issue, but you could end up with a guy like Barcia winning. Who knows? Barcia's come out at A1 a couple times. That'd be a super exciting finish. He's certainly in the fight for at least getting a podium, although I think he's only 20 points out of the lead. So Lord knows, these races, it's so exciting because not only are we excited to get back to racing, there's so many unknowns. You don't know what's going to happen.
Number 3.
My third question for the return of Supercross, who has been doing their homework? You got to figure some of these guys probably took at least a couple of weeks off, a month off, who knows. I certainly would have taken some time off. In fact, I came out saying that I didn't think it was smart for these guys to be riding at first. At least initially when everybody's concerned about overwhelming the hospitals, I was like, man, I would just stay off the bike. I know maybe that's, obviously, we've flattened the curve and maybe that's all over with for the most part. I don't know. But in any case, some of these guys at some point certainly had to get back to grinding, whether they're doing outdoor testing or Supercross stuff. I imagine most of them, if they were doing anything, they're probably doing outdoor, because again, there was a lot of thought that this might be happening maybe in the fall, which would have been a kind of a crazy situation. You'd have to go back to the early 80s to see anything like that. So I think a lot of these guys probably took a little time off and are going to be rusty. And I'm curious to see, you got to figure Kenny already had issues with his health anyway. I'm thinking even though it's going to be hot during the day, hopefully it'll be cooler at night. So I don't think that'll have the same issues he had over the summer. It's not like he's going to be riding in 95-degree heat with 90% humidity. It's going to be nighttime, so I'm sure it'll be more comfortable. But in general, the altitude too, you got to wonder, does it give a guy like Eli an advantage? He lives in Colorado, used to the high altitude. I can't imagine that is great for a guy like Kenny or somebody who's struggled a little bit with some of these issues. So is that going to play into who wins? It's going to be curious to see. So I think it'll be pretty apparent pretty quickly who's been doing their homework and who hasn't, who comes out on fire and who doesn't. And it just adds to the excitement for this weekend. Again, who knows? I don't know. I can't wait to see what happens, and I just hope it's a good race.
Number 4.
My fourth question for this weekend, will the rookies come in and play spoiler? The title fights are pretty defined at this point. You have Eli and Kenny at the front, and early on in the series, it looked like Adam Cianciarulo was going to be really a contender. I was so pumped for how well he rode at the opener, and early on, he was really pushing for the win. And then things got a little sideways there, and I believe he broke his collarbone, if I remember right. It's been so long now. It's been months since we raced. But anyway, my understanding is he's healed up and ready to go now. And this is a perfect opportunity for him to come out and finally get that win. Again, this is like a total reset, maybe an A1 situation. And I'll be curious to see if a guy like Adam, if he's up front, it's too early in the series still, I think, for him to take an order. If he's up front and Eli's coming through, I don't think he's pulling over for him, although maybe I'm wrong. It's too early for the let Brock by moment. And I'd be curious to see if Adam is at the front and on fire, if he can finally get that win. I'm super pulling for him. In the 250 class, you have a guy like Jet Lawrence, who was amazing to watch, so exciting. I love that kid. I was so pumped for him, and I was so bummed out when he hurt himself, almost taking the win. I don't even remember which race that was now. It's been so long ago, maybe Oakland. But anyway, it's been a long time, and he was out for a while. I understand he's healed up and ready to go. So I'm curious to see if these rookies can come out here and get in the mix and really kind of shake things up a little bit. The 250 class in particular is very volatile. Anything could happen. You could have, Sexton or somebody either win or crash out, or it happens all the time. Those kids, they're going balls out like that. A lot of times it creates some crazy results. So we could see some real exciting racing, and I'm really curious to know if those rookies are going to come in and be a factor right away.
Number 5.
All right, question number 5. Will the lack of soil diversity and track design diversity help or hurt the series? I have to wonder going forward if the fact that we are going to have the same track every week, more or less, for the next 6 rounds, if that's going to be good or bad. I'm sure it's going to probably, the answer is probably it's going to play into certain people's hands. Certain guys, I'm sure, have the ability to size up a track quicker than others, just like anything. Some people are better at other things, and riders are the same way. I do find it kind of strange that they're not going to let them walk the track. You would think that if you just prevent man friends from going out there and just let just the riders walk the track, and just maybe make them social distance. Maybe they think they can't control them. I don't know. It just seems like a strange choice. But these guys obviously are pros. They've, ridden a million laps around a Supercross track, so they'll probably pick it up pretty quickly. But I do wonder the fact that this is essentially, it's kind of like the old days when you have Anaheim 1, 2, 3, but even more magnified, because you're talking about, at least with the Anaheims, they changed the track, fairly significantly from round to round. Here, they're not going to have the time to completely redesign the track. I understand they're probably just going to move a few rhythm sections around, maybe reshape some jumps. But I think the basic layout's going to have to stay the same just for time constraints. And I wonder if that's going to further, mix things up. Some guys that maybe have trouble learning a track maybe will rise to the top a little more and have better results than they usually do. You got to think the elite guys like Roxon and Cooper Webb and Eli are probably going to be okay no matter what. But it is interesting to think that I wonder if it's going to really change anything in the standing-wise, how these next few rounds play out. And, of course, the altitude, again, Eli lives at altitude. He's used to it. These other guys aren't used to those conditions. So I wonder how the uniqueness of these last 6 races are going to change the outcome. I mean, no matter what happens, I don't think you have what you'd have a quote-unquote asterisk. I mean, even if they had not had them, in my opinion, you still crown Eli the champ. I thought he was just going to be the Supercross champ. I thought that would end the way the series ended. So the fact that they're actually going to try and run him will definitely add a little bit to the series, at least give them the opportunity. But there's always going to be a thought that it's just going to be a weird year in so many ways. And the Supercross series included, certainly maybe in a minor way compared to everything else that's going on. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited to see how things play out without having fans in the stands. There's always certain riders that rise to the top when they have that fans behind them. You got like Chad Reed, kind of, builds and feeds off that energy. You're not going to have that. It's going to be like a practice day. So it's going to be curious to see if that's going to help or hurt certain guys. And I'm sure it's going to play some factor. So I'm just so happy. Again, I want to thank Feld. I want to thank all the people behind this for putting these races on, giving us something to watch. I'm looking super forward to watching racing again. I can't wait. And I'm so excited to do it. If you'd like to correspond with me, I actually live tweet the events. I get on Twitter. It's at Tony Blazier, TonyBlazier. And I live tweet it and kind of do a commentary at the races. So it's always fun. I enjoy the interaction with people. So if you'd like to get on there with me and enjoy this as it's happening, I'd love to speak to you there. I'd love to know what you're looking forward to. I mean, like I said, this is the wild, wild west we're talking about here. I'm not sure what's going to happen. None of us really know. And I'd love to know what you're looking forward to, what you think of my questions, what you think of your own questions, what questions you have for the series going forward and how it's all going to shake out. So hope everybody's safe. Hope we have a good weekend of racing and hope we get to finish this out. So in the meantime, like I said, if you like this, share, subscribe, support me. I'd very much appreciate the support. And until we meet again, this is Tony Blazier. Let's keep the rubber side down and everybody stay safe. Peace.